Ferrari nearly won at Spa. Charles Leclerc took the lead. The strategy worked. The pit stop worked. The team executed almost everything correctly. And Mercedes still came back. Kimi Antonelli hunted Leclerc down, passed him with 10 laps remaining, and won by almost 2 seconds. Then Fred Vasseur revealed the truth: Ferrari could no longer hide. Antonelli had the quicker car. Ferrari was losing on the straights. And the only reason Leclerc remained in the fight was because Ferrari had created an advantage through the start, the strategy, and the execution. That means the Belgian result was not proof Ferrari had caught Mercedes. It was proof Ferrari had almost stolen a race from a faster car. And when the strategy stopped protecting Leclerc, the real pace difference appeared. Subscribe to the channel. The final result looked close. Antonelli won by 1.952 seconds. Leclerc finished second. Verstappen followed in third. Hamilton recovered to fourth despite receiving a 5-second penalty for his first lap contact with Russell. On paper, Ferrari had challenged Mercedes until the end. That is what makes Vasseur's admission so important. He did not claim Ferrari had matched Mercedes. He did not say the gap had disappeared. He said Ferrari had performed better than expected. That is a very different message. When a team principal says a result exceeded expectations, he is revealing what the engineers believed before the race. Ferrari did not arrive at Spa expecting to fight for victory. The circuit layout was supposed to expose the car. Long straights, high-speed sections, heavy demands on power deployment. The exact conditions that had already troubled Ferrari throughout the season. Yet Leclerc still finished less than 2 seconds behind the winner. That sounds like progress. It was progress. But it was not complete performance. Ferrari's race became competitive because several pieces aligned. Leclerc made an excellent opening lap. He moved ahead of Russell. He moved ahead of Verstappen. He immediately placed himself inside the fight. Then the virtual safety car created a cheap pit stop opportunity. Ferrari reacted. Leclerc gained track position. For a period, he led the Belgian Grand Prix. The team had used racing intelligence to overcome raw pace. That is what strong Formula One teams do. They recognize the opportunity before the rival can respond. They create pressure. They force the faster car to overtake on the circuit. And for several laps, Ferrari made Mercedes work for the victory. But strategy can only protect a pace deficit for so long. Eventually, Antonelli reached Leclerc. The Mercedes had more speed where Spa made speed hardest to defend against. The straights. That was the part Vasseur admitted clearly. Ferrari was losing to Mercedes in straight-line performance. And once Antonelli moved close enough, Leclerc could no longer control the race through positioning alone. The Mercedes had the stronger complete package. Ferrari had the better temporary situation. That distinction explains everything. Track position can make a slower car look equal. Clean air helps the driver manage the tires. The leading car can choose the racing line. The following driver suffers from disturbed airflow. The driver ahead can control where the attack begins. But when the performance difference is large enough, the faster car eventually creates an opportunity. Antonelli did. With 10 laps remaining, he passed Leclerc. Ferrari's strategic advantage disappeared. The true hierarchy returned. And this is where the phrase pace collapse must be understood carefully. Ferrari did not suddenly become slow at Spa. The weakness was already there. The strategy had hidden it. The strong opening lap had hidden it. Leclerc's execution had hidden it. The final pass exposed it. Mercedes had more raw speed. Ferrari had been surviving through everything around the speed. That is why Vasseur described the result as better than expected. He knew the track should have punished the SF26 more severely. He knew Ferrari still had a deficit. He knew Mercedes had taken another major step on the straights. And he knew the podium could easily be misread as proof that the technical gap had closed. It had not. Ferrari was closer. But still behind. The straight-line weakness had followed the team throughout the season. After the early races, Vasseur had already identified it as the main limitation. Ferrari had been around 8/10 away in Melbourne. Then around 6/10 on Friday at a later event. Then around 4/10 by Saturday. That progression mattered. 8/10 became 6. 6 became 4. The team was learning. The gap was reducing. But reducing a deficit is not the same as eliminating it. Ferrari was making progress one step at a time. Mercedes was still ahead. And the danger was that Mercedes could improve while Ferrari was improving. That is exactly what Vasseur had warned about. He said Mercedes made a huge step on the straights. That phrase explains why Ferrari's progress could still feel insufficient. A team may find 2/10. If the rival finds another 10th, the visible gain becomes smaller. Development is not a race against a fixed target. The target moves. Ferrari could not simply reach the level Mercedes had shown in Melbourne. It had to reach the level Mercedes was producing now. That makes recovery far more difficult. The SF26 may have improved. The chassis upgrades may have worked. The balance may have become more predictable. The strategy team may have become sharper. The pit crew may have executed more cleanly. But Mercedes was still producing the greater total performance. And at Spa, straight-line speed mattered too much for Ferrari to hide forever. This weakness was connected to the new technical regulations. The current cars use active aerodynamics. They depend heavily on the relationship between combustion power and electrical power. The hybrid contribution is enormous. The split is close to half and half. That means straight-line performance is not created by one simple engine number. The car must generate combustion power, harvest energy, store it, deploy it, control drag, adjust the aerodynamic configuration, and deliver all of that while preserving reliability. Mercedes appeared stronger across the complete system. Ferrari was not necessarily losing through one single component. The deficit could come from several places working together. Electrical deployment, energy recovery, drag, aerodynamic efficiency, turbo characteristics, battery usage. The exact combination matters because one weakness can amplify another. A car with slightly less electrical deployment may reach the straight with less support. A car carrying more drag must use more energy to achieve the same speed. A car with weaker corner exit grip begins the straight at a lower speed. Then the power deficit becomes even more visible. That is why straight-line performance is rarely only an engine story. The driver exits the corner. The traction matters. The aerodynamic resistance matters. The battery deployment matters. The combustion engine matters. Everything combines. Ferrari's problem may have looked like one speed trap deficit. The cause was likely spread across the entire package. Vasseur highlighted the chassis progress because that was where Ferrari had introduced visible upgrades. He said the team was doing a strong job. The improvements were paying off. Small step by small step. That phrase tells us Ferrari did not expect one revolutionary solution. The team was building performance gradually. A revised aerodynamic surface. A small balance improvement. A better setup window. A more efficient floor. A cleaner rear platform. One improvement may be worth only a fraction. Several together can change the car. That is how Formula One development usually works. The public looks for one dramatic upgrade. The engineers often find performance through 10 smaller corrections. Ferrari's Spa result suggested those corrections were helping. The car could survive a circuit that had looked unfavorable. Leclerc could fight near the front. The strategy team could create a lead. The race pace was strong enough to keep pressure on Mercedes. But the final pass showed the remaining limit. The car could fight. It could not control. There is a major difference between those two states. A car that can fight depends on circumstances. A car that can control creates the circumstances. Mercedes controlled the race because Antonelli had enough underlying speed to recover. He lost the lead at the start. He regained it. He lost it again through the virtual safety car sequence. He regained it again. That is what raw performance allows. A faster car can survive disruption. It can recover from a poor phase. It can create another opportunity. Ferrari needed every phase to remain favorable. Leclerc needed the start. He needed the strategy. He needed the clean stop. He needed track position. Once one of those advantages weakened, Mercedes attacked. That is not a criticism of Ferrari's execution. It is proof that the team extracted more than the car's natural position. Vasseur understood that. He praised the start. He praised the strategy. He praised the pit stop. He praised the consistency. Those compliments were not random. They identified the areas that kept Ferrari alive. Execution compensated for performance. That is encouraging. It is also dangerous. Because flawless execution cannot be guaranteed every weekend. A strategy call may arrive one lap late. A pit stop may lose half a second. A virtual safety car may favor the rival. The driver may qualify behind traffic. If the car still lacks raw speed, one small operational weakness can remove the entire opportunity. Mercedes had enough pace to survive imperfections. Ferrari did not. That is why the championship gap remained important. Mercedes left Belgium with a 73-point advantage in the Constructors' Championship. Antonelli led the drivers' standings with 204 points. Hamilton had 159. Russell had 154. Leclerc had 126. Ferrari had strong drivers. It had podium pace. It had improved execution. But Mercedes had the better championship machine. That is what the standings reflected. The gap was not created by one Belgian pass. It was created across 10 rounds. Every weekend where Mercedes had more straight-line speed. Every qualifying session where Ferrari started slightly too far back. Every race where the electrical deployment created an advantage. Every time Ferrari needed strategy to manufacture a fight. Small deficits accumulate. 1/10 in qualifying becomes track position. Track position becomes tire disadvantage. Tire disadvantage becomes strategy restriction. Strategy restriction becomes lost points. That is how championships are decided. Not always through dramatic domination. Sometimes through a slightly stronger package every weekend. Ferrari's challenge was to stop needing the perfect race. At Spa, the team came close. Leclerc drove brilliantly. The strategy worked. The stop worked. The virtual safety car opened the door. Yet Mercedes still won. That is why Vasseur's honesty mattered. He could have celebrated the second place as proof of equality. Instead, he acknowledged the reality. Antonelli had the faster car. Ferrari lost on the straights. The team fought through execution. That is a much more valuable diagnosis than false confidence. A team cannot fix a weakness it refuses to admit. Ferrari knew where the pain remained. The question was how quickly it could remove it. The first possibility involved power unit development. Ferrari had explored whether its deficit might qualify for an additional discretionary upgrade opportunity. That framework existed to help underperforming manufacturers improve during the season. The idea was simple. If one power unit fell too far behind, the rules could allow limited development to reduce the gap. Ferrari's interest revealed how seriously it viewed the problem. The team was not treating the straight-line loss as a setup inconvenience. It was investigating whether the deficit required regulatory relief. That does not prove the power unit alone was responsible. But it shows Ferrari believed the weakness may have extended beyond ordinary aerodynamic adjustment. If the car carries too much drag, the team can reduce wing. But reducing wing lowers downforce. Then cornering grip suffers. If the engine or hybrid system is weaker, the aerodynamic department is forced into painful compromises. The team may trim the car to survive on the straight. Then the driver loses confidence through the corners. That creates another deficit. This is the trap Ferrari had to avoid. Chasing straight-line speed by sacrificing cornering performance can make the complete lap slower. Red Bull had already demonstrated how dangerous an extreme low-drag philosophy could become. Ferrari needed a more balanced solution. More efficient power. Better deployment. Lower drag without losing load. Stronger traction. A car that reaches the straight faster and accelerates more effectively once it arrives. That is not one upgrade. It is a complete development program. And Vasseur's language suggested Ferrari understood the scale. Small steps. Not one miracle. That patience is important. But patience becomes difficult when Mercedes is already winning. Every race that passes gives Antonelli more points. Every second place increases the gap. Every strong Ferrari result can still become a Mercedes victory. That creates pressure. The team must develop quickly. But rushing development can create correlation problems. A part may look effective in simulation. It may behave differently on the circuit. The car may gain top speed and lose balance. The tire behavior may change. The cooling may become more difficult. The upgrade may work at one track and fail at another. Ferrari needed progress that transferred across circuits. Silverstone and Spa offered encouraging evidence. Both were high-speed tracks. Both had been expected to expose Ferrari. The team performed better than expected at both. That suggested the chassis upgrades were real. Not one fortunate race. Not one unusual setup. The car was becoming more versatile. That is a major positive. But the straight-line deficit remained. And Mercedes remained the benchmark. This is where the word collapse can become misleading. Ferrari did not collapse because the car suddenly failed. The race simply reached the point where execution could no longer conceal the missing pace.